In a year when mid-range devices have been getting a lot more attention than usual, Samsung has just released the new Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. If you're looking for a pragmatic device that offers a decent value proposition, this is not the phone for you. The Note 20 Ultra was built to be a no-compromises device, promising to deliver the ultimate performance and photography experience. Oh, and then there's the S Pen as well.
Now, if the intro to this review sounds a little bit over the top, that's because it is, matching what this phone actually delivers. Now, you might have the foregone conclusion that the Note 20 Ultra is going to be my favorite smartphone of the year. I will say off the bat, it is exquisite in so many different ways, but it's definitely not perfect and not the phone most people should actually buy.
While there's no perfect phone that will appeal to every single buyer, the Note 20 Ultra is in a precarious position, delivering practically every feature that spec junkies crave these days. But the phone's price and overall size will ensure that it remains a coveted phone for a very small segment of the market. The design of the Note 20 Ultra is the first indication that this phone means business. With the squared off edges, bold bronze finish, and ridiculously large camera module on the back, this phone isn't built for the casual smartphone user. Holding this phone, its size and weight do impart its overwhelming superiority when compared to the competition. But while it is a massive device, it's also refined. Samsung's made sure that the fit and finish is pristine, and the frosted satin finish on the back of the phone is a nice touch after what we saw last year from the Aura Glow, which was a massive fingerprint magnet. While the massive camera bump on the back of the phone gets most of the attention, the main feature that sets this phone apart from every other Android device that's on the market is the S Pen. Yes, there are a handful of other devices that do have pen support, but only a few of those have a pen that can be stored inside the phone, and fewer than that have the software support to make the pen even remotely useful. As is the case each and every year, the S Pen functionality has been expanded with a slew of new features. The most noteworthy is the integration with Microsoft OneNote and the reduced latency that you get with the S Pen. Samsung Notes has always been a decent app to use with the Galaxy Note devices, but with Microsoft OneNote, using those notes on your computer or sharing them with family members or coworkers is a much more pleasant experience. The latency from when you start writing on the screen with the S Pen and when it actually shows up has been reduced to just 9 milliseconds, making the S Pen feel significantly more responsive than it's been in the past. Add to that the subtle pencil sound that the phone makes when using the S Pen, and it nearly feels like you're writing on paper. Just make sure you slap a case on this thing if you're looking to take notes with the phone lying on a desk, since the camera bulge on the back of this phone makes it nearly impossible otherwise.
Samsung's also introduced a handful of new S Pen air gestures for controlling the phone's user interface, but unfortunately they don't really work that well. The ones they introduced last year for controlling the camera and using this as a remote shutter button are the ones you actually want to use.
Anyone who's owned a flagship Samsung smartphone for the past couple years is probably familiar with DeX by now. The desktop UI that appears when you connect your smartphone to a monitor is a great way to use it with a much larger screen to be more productive or simply to enjoy your media. But this year, the Note 20 Ultra does away with the cables and allows you to connect wirelessly. Now, this isn't going to work with most monitors, but if you own a smart TV, there's a good chance that you'll be able to use this. Controlling the desktop using the touchpad on the phone screen isn't the best, but connect a Bluetooth keyboard and a mouse and you'll have yourself a nifty desktop experience if you're willing to put up with the lag that comes with the wireless connection. As is the case with most Samsung flagship smartphones, the Note 20 Ultra sports a curved AMOLED panel. This makes the phone feel sleek and look smaller than it actually is, but I'm personally not a huge fan since the number of false touches that you get is infuriating. It honestly feels like Samsung's palm rejection software has gotten worse this year, but it could simply be because of the sheer size of the display. But the real story here is the adaptive 120 Hz refresh rate when you bump the resolution down from 1440 to 1080. The difference is truly noticeable, and after using the phone at that higher refresh rate, you'll likely stick with it at the lower resolution rather than going back to 1440 and being stuck at 60 Hz. Having the option to use the 120 Hz refresh rate at the full resolution would be the ideal option, but that would cause additional battery drain, and as I'll touch on in a minute, that's something that the Note 20 Ultra has a few issues with already. As for color reproduction, brightness, and viewing angles, as always, Samsung's panels don't disappoint. Using the phone in direct sunlight isn't an issue at all, and I love just how dark the display can get in low light so that you can use it in bed at night without lighting up the entire room. In the past, owning a Note meant having a phone that could get you through a long workday and still have enough power to get you through the next morning without having to worry about battery life. But things are a little bit different with the Note 20 Ultra.
On paper, the 4,500 mAh battery on this phone sounds impressive, but when you consider that it has a massive display on the front, a bleeding edge processor on the inside, and that triple camera system on the back of the phone, which practically begs you to take pictures all day long, the real world performance of the battery really isn't that great.
The average user should be able to make it through a full day without an issue, but the Note 20 Ultra is built for the power user, someone who's constantly on their phone, taking notes in meetings, playing games that take advantage of the phone's incredible performance, and snapping pictures from sunup to sunset. Doing that, I was usually reaching for a charger with 15% battery left by 6 or 7 p.m., not something that you typically expect from a Note. Besides the S Pen, the other highlight of the Note 20 Ultra is the triple camera system that Samsung's using on the back of the phone. The 108 megapixel main sensor is a repeat from the S20 Ultra earlier this year, but this time around they've included a laser autofocus system to make sure that each and every shot is in focus. The other two cameras are great as well, featuring two 12 megapixel sensors paired with an ultra-wide lens and a 5x telephoto periscope lens. Now, while I've always been a big proponent of ultra-wide lenses on smartphones, this 5x telephoto lens is the first one to convince me that having a good zoom is just as important.
But rather than me just talking about it, take a look to see what the cameras on the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra can actually do.
At the end of the day, this triple camera array makes the Note 20 Ultra the most versatile smartphone camera that I've used to date, allowing you to capture incredible photos no matter how close or far you are from your subject. I still think that Samsung's default settings are a little bit too punchy, with oversaturated blue skies and contrast that's dialed up just a little bit too much. But if all you're doing is taking pictures to post them to Instagram or your Facebook feed, you're gonna love the results. The only real letdown here is the front-facing camera. The 10 megapixel sensor performs decently in a variety of different lighting conditions, but Samsung's beauty mode adjustments, which can't fully be turned off, lead to some pretty horrible selfies. I wasn't a fan of the selfie camera on the OnePlus Nord, but even that one takes better pictures than this. If you're a gamer or a power user, you'll be hard-pressed to find a phone that can outclass the Note 20 Ultra. Samsung's using the new Snapdragon 865 Plus inside this thing, paired with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. For having 12 gigabytes of RAM though, this phone does seem to dump apps from memory a little more often than it should. But if you're using a dozen or less apps throughout the day, you'll likely never have to wait for them to reload. As for the sheer performance of this thing, I wasn't able to find a single app or game that could slow this thing down. With gaming, you'll be able to enjoy your favorite titles with settings turned all the way up, and even take advantage of the display's 120Hz refresh rate if the game supports it. The only thing that really is slow on this phone is the Bixby daily feed to the left of the main home screen. While I don't use it much, the times that I do accidentally swipe over to it, I have to wait 5 seconds for any content to load. My recommendation is simply to disable it because it's slow and also it's filled with ads. Honestly, that's the thing that irks me most about the Note 20 Ultra and all new Samsung devices that we've seen this year. Samsung has scattered ads in as many first-party apps as it possibly can, promoting restaurants in the dialer, app recommendations in pop-up notifications, scattering ads in Bixby Daily, Samsung Pay, the game launcher, and even the weather app.
Now, I get that Samsung's trying to make a little bit more money off of every device that they're selling, but if I'm paying $1,300 for a smartphone, I've already paid enough. I don't want to see any ads on this thing, period.
As for the phone's user interface, Samsung adjusted a few things with One UI since rolling out the new design language. It's far better than what Samsung used to have, but it still feels a little bit bloated and overbearing when compared to what other OEMs are doing these days. The sheer number of features and customizations that are included in the software are an asset for those who truly know what they're doing, but Samsung doesn't have a mechanism to showcase the features to new Samsung users, forcing you to dig through menu systems that are 4 to 5 layers deep just to tweak a couple settings.
The good news, though, is that Samsung has announced that the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra and a handful of other Samsung devices are going to be getting 3 full years of software updates going forward. This means things could technically get better on the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra between now and 2023.
I have to admit that I like the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra a lot more than what I was expecting at first. Besides my issues with the software and the phone's battery life, there's really nothing that this phone can't do. But here's the thing, take away the S Pen and the 5x zoom and the Note 20 Ultra really isn't better than the OnePlus 8 Pro, an $899.
If you simply can't live without the S Pen, or for that matter, a 5x periscope telephoto lens on the back of your smartphone, the Note 20 Ultra is probably the perfect device for you. But if those two features really aren't that high up on your priority list, there are plenty of other flagship devices that cost a lot less that will get the job done in 2020. Thank you guys so much for watching our review of the Note 20 Ultra. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe as well. We have a lot more smartphone camera comparisons and additional smartphone reviews coming up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.